We'll talk all about it, and you can join the conversation. You can call 601-877-6595. You can text a question, 601-301-2611 on X Tall Man Radio. We appreciate all the support through the social media platforms and networks. And we hope to hear from you here on this Monday night as we look at Edward Waters, look back at that game, and look ahead to a very tough McNeese team. McNeese, they won their first conference game over Stephen F. Austin, down 10 with 7.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They found a way to win that game. What answers do we have for that stingy defense? We'll talk all about it on the back end. So take a timeout when we come back. Head coach Cedric Thomas on the Cedric Thomas Show on the Braves Sports Network. We'll be right back.
Don't worry, the 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
You don't fight fair, so we'll just fight harder.
We didn't come here to play around.
You're going down.
Honestly, I hate you.
I'm stronger than you.
I'm more determined than you.
We're going to beat you, cancer.
Because the American Cancer Society
is on our team.
And together, we're unstoppable.
My name is John Calipari.
I'm Roy Williams.
I'm Jim Boeheim.
I'm Tubby Smith.
And I'm a coach versus cancer.
Because we understand about securing your financial future. Call us today at 601-207-2580. That's 601-207-2580. United South Financial Group, protecting today, securing tomorrow. Proud sponsor of Jefferson County Tiger football.
All right, we welcome you back to the Cedric Thomas program right here on the Braves Sports Network, 91.7 WPRL and WPRL.org. Glad you could join us here on this Monday night. Charles Edmond here with Braves head football coach Cedric Thomas. Coach, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Charles.
Congratulations on the big win, and I tell you what, it was a heck of a win. Kind of a slow start, but we got some things going.
Yeah, we wanted to come out a little bit faster, but first half defensively kind of let those guys get a little bit too many yards, just kind of let them get comfortable and didn't give the offense enough possessions, but they kind of settled down, and we just wanted to take some shots. We went, picked it up and went at a high pace on offense. Getting 10 points in the first half could have been a lot more if defensively would have got a few more stops for us. Kicking game, did a good job turning the field over, and so we just wanted to come out fast, put some points on the board, get score a touchdown. I think it was probably 9 quarters before we actually scored a touchdown, but guys were resilient. You see us pick it up, throw the ball around a little bit, and Sewell had some big runs for that first half. So I was excited about it, but defensively, not the half to our liking. Thought we kind of played down a little bit. It was probably 7 missed tackles in that first half, and that's kind of uncharacteristic of us. But the second half kind of settled down, took some shots down the field, stretched the field vertically. You saw the speed that we got with Tyron Warren and those guys on the edge, and the defense made some big-time turnovers, and even in the kicking game. And so I thought that second half was more to our liking, kind of what how we see ourselves playing as this thing go down the stretch.
I was just kind of worried about how we were going to get off to the type of start, just because of the fact that, we hadn't had the success and getting the offense going, and the defense, we knew that they were standing tall through the first couple of games, but I think fans early on, it was kind of slow go. We got our first touchdown with 2 minutes left in the second quarter, and I know fans were kind of antsy, looking for some more points, but how tough, even though we did our thing, but when you look at Edward Waters, how stingy was it? Was it more Edward Waters in terms of their defense, or was it some things offensively through the first 28 minutes of the first half?
I thought it was more so us defensively. We got off the field, but some of them drives lasted too long. We played 17 plays on defense the first half, and that's way too many. just overall, we got to get the ball back to the offense. Some of them drives, got long. We had some penalties to keep them drives moving. And so I thought, just as far as the time of possession, offense, didn't do bad. Just when they had the opportunities, we only got like 3 or 4 possessions the first half, and we get 10 points out of it, But we expect that defense to be a little bit more stymied, like they did the second half with the turnovers, and then give it to the offense. We go fast and get down, and we got to get a field goal, and it was 4th and goal, and we finally punch it in. And so I thought those guys just kind of loosened up. Everything was kind of uptight a little bit, and but really the first time that we really just threw it around. And so I thought once Vaughn just kind of settled down and Coach Gales just put it in the air. I think we can throw the football around. I think our offensive line did a really good job even against those 2 big teams. We only had maybe 2 sacks. 3 at the most, and so they passed pro'd well, and I thought we just kind of opened it up. I thought everybody was kind of on edge and tight. They hear the social media, we know the brand, we know what's expected, and so I thought once we settled down and just played our brand of ball, you kind of seen the scoreboard move a little bit.
Well, that was the storyline, Coach. Obviously, you made the decision a week ago to start Xavier Vaughn. So in the first half, Xavier Vaughn was 6 of 9. Talk about how he was able to start and how he was able to get this offense jump started.
I thought you got it moving pretty fast. Sewell had some big time runs. The one I want back is the wheel route the truck. We missed him wide open, man. That's 7 points. We got to make that catch. We got to make that throw. And it starts with him. He led him a little bit too far outside. Truck where he's need to be. But just like Vaughn said in his interview, this is his first time really playing for a big time program. Playing for a winning program, and so he's kind of nervous and got a little high anxiety. But once he settled down, you saw him make those throws, and we saw him be the quarterback we know he can be.
I was impressed with just his running ability, the stuff that he was able to do with his feet. His strength, his power. I mean, he was running through and over some people.
He's a physical, guy. You look at his stature, kind of slim build, but really compact. One of the strongest guys, at the skill position in the weight room. For me, we know that athleticism. We talking about 10'5", 10'6", 100-meter kid from Texas, and we know how the Texas programs are. For us, it's more so can he make those throws consistently, and it was good to see him get out to a start to get some guys some catches in space where we know our wideouts can be very dangerous.
Well, we did wind up getting on the scoreboard, Coach, so let's talk about that. We got a touchdown after Keanu's field goal to put us up in the first quarter. That first drive, we went 8 plays, 39 yards. Talk a little bit about getting off to a good start.
Gales just he saw some things in the run game that just wanted to kind of loosen those guys up, and so we hit some runs inside. And then after that, they kind of start bringing 8 and 9 guys to the box, and so by Gales transitioning to the box, he can see that. He did a really good job of identifying the guys on the sideline. They ID'd it also. So we pushed the ball down the field. We talked about just taking what the defense gives us, and so they took the run away, and we was able to get the ball behind their heads.
So we were up at that point, Coach, 3-0, and then we added to that, and that run, that Vaughn 1-yard run, 8 plays, 81 yards to go up. One of the things I noticed, as far as what Edward Waters was doing offensively, and the challenge, they were running receivers in and out, and we had to adjust to that. Talk about that little concept there.
Well, it's kind of the same thing what we tried to do against Vanderbilt. They in the exact same situation. Limited scholarship, limited people. So that was one of them old Johnny Cole tactics. Just hold them as long as you can. Get a new group out, and by the time you process that new group, you're dealing with 5 or 6 seconds on the clock, and so that was a way for them to milk the clock and kind of get that clock down. But also give us a small amount of time to make adjustments. And so I thought that, that Coach Morgan and that staff, man, did a really good job. You talking about Coach Jenkins, has won championships at really good programs. So those guys was coached up, and they did a really good job implementing their game plan.
So when you look at what this team did, Coach, it was 10-0 at the break. Talk about the first half in terms of how that went.
I was excited about the offense. They was moving the ball when they had the opportunities, and so we kind of had to get a defensive, the defense overall a shot in the arm. Our All-American, who's our leader, he got 2, offside penalties on the first possession, and that's just him having to settle down and letting the game come to him, and not just having a selfish spirit where he feel like he got to make every play. So I thought once he settled down, the guys settled down, and you kind of seen him make stops but it was too many third down conversions. We got to get off the field. That's our money down. But I thought they could have gave the offense a couple more possessions, and then we just got to clean the penalties up. But overall, I thought, they did a decent job of bending but not breaking, and so I thought you saw more of a, all-corn, type of defense that second half.
Talk about the running game, Coach, in terms of how that was able to get that going a little bit. I look at the first half rushing numbers in the first half. Xavier Vaughn with 40 yards, Brandon Rogers 11 yards net, Sewell. Talk about the running game in the first half.
I think it's going to be, running back by committee, and we don't have Tay Miller right now. He's suffering a contusion in his right thigh, so that's one of the backs that, we missing, one of the heavier guys that can get and hit it down here. But you see, BJ and all those guys, Sewell, them guys, run the football hard, and you actually going to see Ant Williams. We're going to give him opportunity to, put the ball in his hand. He's such a dynamic guy, so we want to be able to give him touches without having to go through the pass game. And so I thought those guys did a really good job. Sewell missed a jump cut that could have, got a lot of yards, but the O-line, did a really good job of identifying the looks and creating a new line of scrimmage. And like I told those guys, that's where it starts. It starts with them up front, and the backs will follow their lead.
Yeah, it was 10-0 at the break, and I tell you what, Coach, I thought defensively we were able to get off the field several turnovers in that ball game, but did that get overlooked by the penalties that we had 2 offsides penalties at the start of the game. I know you didn't like that, but overall, just talk about balance between getting the turnovers, yes, but then the defensive penalties that we had.
Yeah, that's uncharacteristic for us, especially from our All-American. He's very disciplined. He normally does things right, but I think the fact of being at home and just being so antsy to make a play for the team, just kind of, got into his sight line for seeing the ball and getting off on the ball key. So once he settled down, Coach Rowe kind of settled down. Like you said, they had never shown that look from a transition on and off, so he had to get his bearings. This is only his third game, calling it as a defensive coordinator, and that was a new look, but he settled down and did a really good job of making the adjustments. And I thought once those guys settled down, they made impact for defensive plays. They got out the field, got stops when needed, and got the ball back to the offense.
We look at the first half numbers. It was 128 to 121 in the first half. Edward Waters actually outgained and actually had 8 more plays. When you looked at the stat sheet at halftime, did that concern you?
Yeah, I was mad. I just felt like they had the ball too long. We finally got offense going and driving the ball. We got to get off the field. They have been doing such a great job those first 2 weeks. And, the whole mantra this week was to get the ball to the offense so they can kind of get it rolling. And so when I looked at that play count, I was very disappointed. So we had to get them a shot in the arm and tell them, hey, let's go. The turnover's good. But when you're jumping outside and you're giving them extra possessions, that's less possession for our offense to be able to score points. And we're going to be able to score points. It wasn't no doubt inside the building that we could do it, but we felt like the defense took a step back from how they normally played that first half.
And they had 17 minutes and 38 seconds time of possession.
Yeah, that's what we talked about on the intro. That's way too much. Normally offenses don't hold that ball that long against our defense, and so we got to do a better job of tackling and getting off the field on third down, but also cutting those penalties down.
Speaking of getting off the field, they had a 4th and 1 from our 20-yard line, and they went for it. And I think it kind of showed maybe where their kicking game was, but I also thought, they're probably thinking field goals aren't going to win this game, so they probably were aggressive on the road. What the heck? Let's go. Talk about that play.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Jenkins on the way back, and he was talking about it. It was all of nothing. They said they didn't drive all the way down here for ties or threes, So he wanted to keep us on our toes and be aggressive, and that was kind of the mindset. And it is the mindset a lot of times when you're playing up. We've been there, and so once it kind of got out of hand a little bit, it was by player safety the same way we did. He kind of slowed things down, but those guys did a really good job, on that other sideline. Some really good coaches, well-coached team, they're going to do a really good job in their conference.
Coach Jenkins, he's a SWAC product.
Yeah, and one of my mentors, it's my frat brother. He does a really good job of just staying in touch and just kind of, giving me, tools and things I can use on my journey. He's been here at the highs of the highs and some of the great and best institutions in his league. And so he always constantly texting me words of encouragement. And so it was good to see him and what he's doing and still having a platform in this black college sector.
Well, the Braves were up 10-0 at the break. We're going to take a timeout here. We'll come back and look at the third and fourth quarter highlights. Xavier Vaughn got going. Tyler Macon saw some action. and we'll talk all about it. You can give us a call, 601-877-6595. You can text 601-301-2611, and on X, Tall Man Radio. We'll take a break. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Here at Alcorn, we understand that we share some commonalities with one another, so in some ways we're already family.
Seeing everybody, seeing more people that looked like me and had the same mannerisms as me, it was fantastic.
The variety of people here really made me feel at home.
When I stepped on campus, it felt like I was supposed to be here.
When they say the grass is greener here, they really mean it.
Alcorn provides our students with the knowledge, the skills, and the attitudes they need to go out in the workforce to provide the best quality client-centered care.
This program is very beneficial. I think that they have provided me a lot more information to help guide my nurse practice.
We are preparing a well-rounded student who's able to go out abroad in the workforce. The faculty.
WPRL, the Braves Sports Network, WMIS, WTYJ, Fayette Natchez, 90.1 WMPR in Jackson. We're on Facebook Live. And the Braves Sports Network is on YouTube. Braves Sports Network. All these shows, all these interviews, you'll have all of those on the platforms. Coming up at the half of the game, coming up on Saturday at McNeese, we'll talk Braves baseball with head coach Carlton Hardy. He'll join us at the break. And Brianna Billy, our new softball coach, Coach Thomas, got a chance to meet her for the first time working on her field earlier today. So we'll be talking with her next week as well. So let's look, Coach, at the second half of action. You talked to Cedric Tillman after the game and right at halftime, and you talked about opening the things up offensively in the second half. What did you notice in the first half in which we couldn't open things up or wouldn't?
Well, it was the run game. I think Coach just kind of wanted to, establish, the run game, knowing that we was big up front and we was moving them. But for me, I kind of got a little bit, dissatisfied with that. Those runs wasn't hitting at the volume I thought that our skill guys could do. And I just told Coach Gales, hey, let it loose. I know this is his first start. We behind him. Hey, let it loose. We got a good defense, got a really good kicking game. And so that's when you saw more of the spread stuff. He just kind of opened it up, and I told him I challenged him to throw it 6, 7, 8 times in a row, and be confident in doing it. And so that's what you're seeing, the explosive. And then Edward Waters was stacking the box after we had some of those explosive runs. And so once we threw the ball, we knew we had a matchup over with Tyron. Wanted to get Truck involved, and he did. You see T make some big-time catches, and he was the captain for the first time since he's been here, and that was a blessing. And so what you saw is what I think we're going to do, going forward. We're going to have some opportunities to spray the ball down the field. Zay got a live arm. He reads really well. And when things break down, you can see what he do with his legs. And so when you think about the history of just the quarterback play here, that's that component, that triple threat that he can do. And so I think if we continue to do that and just be sound with the offensive line and pick all those pressures up, we're going to be good.
Tyler Warren had 2 big catches, Coach, deep in Edward Waters' territory. One late in the first half. He had another one in the second half. I mean, he's a big target. And even Cedric Bush was talking about getting it to him more. You got Truck Griffin. You got Warren. You got some tall receivers you can get it to. Just put it up, and that's what Vaughn did.
Yeah, and Coach did a really good job dialing their numbers up, because we see him do it against us all the time, and we're a pretty good secondary. He just needed those opportunities, and he made the best of them. Now he just got to score. I told him he's too unselfish. You can't fall to the one and let the running back and the quarterback get it in. He got to score those footballs, and so he kind of laughed it off. But that says what kind of player he is. He'll do whatever for the team, and make sure that those guys be in the best position to be successful.
One of the touchdowns from right to left on the left side there was what we thought was a fumble, and Edward Waters got it. You called the timeout, and we kept the football there. Talk about that exchange.
That's one of the reasons why you kind of use that. It's a toss. It's a shovel pass, so it's really a pass. And so that's kind of one of the rules where you kind of can just split hairs with, instead of handing it off, you just toss it out there, and if you get what we got, it's an incompletion instead of a fumble. And so I kind of had that in my back pocket. The refs was on it. They were just going to kind of let the play out, but I didn't want it to just snap, and then all of a sudden, that ball is on the 18 to 17-yard line. And so the ref assured me that he saw it, and that's good that we got instant replay now. Years ago, that probably would have just been a dead play, and we might have been kicking a field goal, but that just says the commitment to the league and the officials, how they've upgraded, nowadays. And so it was an incomplete pass. We knew it, so we knew that ball was going to have to go back, and it just gave us some more time to be able to come up with the plays that we was going to use to score with.
It seemed like it took a little while for that thing to evolve, and the determination took a little longer than I thought.
Yeah, me too. I kept going from the hash to the numbers, and they trying to push me off, and I'm like, I just want to make sure the verbiage, is the same. And it's new for me because, a lot of these refs I know from back in the day. But I know what comes with this great place, and so it's my relationship establishing with them. But I want to hear what the conversation like. If it is turned, in a disfavorable position, why was it? You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get as close as I can to the conversation to hear it. But they assured me, that they saw what I saw.
Well, we were able to get some rushing touchdowns. Talk about Xavier Vaughn, who was named Newcomer of the Week in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Xavier Vaughn with an outstanding performance in the game, 228 total yards, 184 through the air, and 44 yards rushing. He was named Newcomer of the Week in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
That's awesome, man. That's really a testament of him. Coming here as a fifth-year guy, could have went to some other schools and maybe had opportunity to play early. But like I told Coach, we're not promising him anything. He stayed was steadfast on just working and being part of a great program. And so just the support he's had since he's been here and how the guys have taken him in, and we know what type of football player he is, and the sky's the limit. So he'll continue to get better and continue to, do a really good job for us.
He had some rushing touchdowns. And then Tyler Macon, you got Mako on the field. Talk about that.
That's going to be a component that we can use, because, we really don't want, Xavier taking all that pounding. And it's just some run game stuff and some matchups that we can still use with Mako, in there. He's still got a live arm and he's dynamic with the football, So it was, to put it out there, we knew it was out of hand. And just wanted to get him some run game stuff to keep him, in tune in what's going on. But we're going to carry that package later on down the year. If we start to see guys that can't get the +1 and can't fit the box up a corner, then we know we got a guy that can get in there and still get downhill and give us some things.
I know when we're on the wrong side of the scoreboard, we used 4 quarterbacks in the game against Vanderbilt. Since we were on the right side of the scoreboard in this game, we used 2 quarterbacks. Were you thinking of emptying your quarterback room there in terms of just having other quarterbacks finish the game?
Nah, that's it, Mr. Charles. It's gonna be, you won't see no more than 2 from here on out. They got to see the pictures. Here we coming down the stretch. Any reps that they're getting is not conducive to them improving and getting this team to a conference championship. We can't do it. Right now. Then God forbid, injuries happen, and we telling the 3 and the 4 to be ready, and even the 2. But right now, the 1 is the 1, and he gonna get those reps not only in the game but in practice, and then whatever we got for 2, we'll package it and make sure we give him a good opportunity to give us a chance to win. But you won't see 3 and 4 no more.
Interesting. So with the game being what it was, and we were on the other side of it with Vanderbilt and UAB, were you trying to slow the game down a little bit, just trying to take time off the clock and kind of get it over with?
No, sir. I was trying to score every chance we got. Every chance. That's why you saw the sky kick. We saw it there. And Coach Rose saw it. We want to be aggressive in the kicking game, and so we had opportunity to get the offense another possession. So right now, it's every time we can get it. We got to score. We got to make up for the 2 weeks that we didn't, and the lack of plays that we got versus live action against somebody else. So it wasn't a deal where we was trying to snap it until it just got late in the fourth, where now for me it's the it's the brotherhood. I know them guys on that other sideline, and I was them a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't gonna keep throwing it like they did me. And that's just who I am. And I ain't saying right, wrong, or indifferent. But up until the end, we was gonna push it down the field and make up for all those times we didn't versus those other teams we played.
And there does come a point, the last 2 or 3 minutes, you're just trying to get it over with.
Yeah, we're just trying to get out, and that's out of respect for the guys across that sideline. For me, it's still some integrity part inside this game, and so I wasn't gonna do those guys across that sideline like that.
Well, I mean, we saw the other night with South Alabama and Northwestern State, it was 87-10, and they went with a 6-minute running time 4th quarter. Just out of respect for that situation. The game was out of hand, and they just wanted to get through that 4th quarter.
And I know 2 of them. I know I worked with Coach McCorkle when I was at UT Martin, and of course Coach Hop. I called both of them. And just wanted to get both sides of it. But I told Coach McCorkle just keep his head up. I've been there. And just hey, you only gonna get 1 loss for it, but just make sure them guys can get off the mat and keep working.
Well, the Braves get it done, ladies and gentlemen, 38-7 with the win. You talked about offensively with Xavier Vaughn, what he did, the running game, what they were able to do. Coach, talk about the receivers and just how they were able to make catches. We talked about Warren. You talked about T. Adams. Just talk about Blake's in terms of, just doing a good job in catching the football.
Really, really exciting. The kid got hurt last year, and you know how I'm dear to guys from where I'm from. But to see him bounce back, from the injury, and you notice he's on punt return now. We made some adjustment there to try to get the ball to him and put it in his hands as much as he can. He had a couple first downs, inside the punt return, and that'll be his duty here on out. But dynamic with the ball in his hands, and so we're gonna try to get it to him, on the jet sweeps and screen games, and just pleasant, good to see him, catch the football and be active, out there. And then the play for me is the one where they call the holding on Damon on the edge, and Truck had the big dynamic catch and run, and I didn't see the hold there, but it happened. But it was just good to see those guys finally get the ball. But they did things the right way to get open to get the football. Some different looks Coach Gales did, running some bunch sets and some space and stuff, and the ball was spraying out fast, and those guys did a really good job with yards after the catch.
You talked about the offense. Your OC, Coach Gale, I talked with him during the fall, and he said, I'm going to be on the field. And in the second half, he was upstairs just trying to get some different perspectives.
Well, after the first game for me, I've been with him for a long time, and on that field he can't see, he couldn't see, and so I just told him, I said, Coach, you got to get in the box. You're a mad scientist when you can see what's going on. You got some new guys with you, and you're not getting the intel fast enough to be able to go fast and make those necessary adjustments. And so, he got in the box, and so now he can see the whole picture. And now he can go fast as he wants because he can see the looks, he can get the information down to the guys. They can signal in, and we can kind of get rolling.
Well, you're a former coordinator, and it's all you have some DCs that are on the field. In the NFL, you see it. In the college game, you see it. Some DCs are on the field. Some DCs are in the box. Some OCs are on the field. Some OCs are in the box. What causes that dynamic? Because I hear coordinators say, I want to be on the field because I want to be able to look my players in the eye if things are going sideways. But then when you're up top, you can see everything.
Yeah, so, it's kind of like from a head coaching standpoint, it's just kind of see how do you see the organization piece of how guys respond to those types of stimuli, doing the practice sector. And so I knew by Gales being a true play caller and the only play caller, when we was at other institutions, he did his best in the box. And then so he got a couple new coaches that he got to kind of coach up and get them to have their eyes where they supposed to be. And that's the whole nuances of it. So once he went in the box, Boo's got to look at a certain place. Coach Fred got to look at a certain place. AR got to look at a certain place. So once, they kind of got that settled, they know what they're looking at. He can get the feedback, but he can see the whole picture. Well, with Coach Rowe, Coach Rowe is on the sideline. And I'm really just there also because we want to look in their eyes. We get a lot of information with Coach Taylor and Coach Cove up at the top, but Coach Rowe been a linebacker and a D-line guy, so he can see that front seven and he can make the necessary adjustments on the sideline. I've been on back end, got it and called it, so I can go to them DBs and let Coach Taylor know just from a personal standpoint. If a DB having one of them games and he telling you he all right, but his body, like what you said, body language is telling him something different. And so it's just, to each his own, on it. And you just got to, as a leader, be able to find that out because a lot of coaches just want to be on the sideline just for the show and the pageantry. And that may not be what's best for them. And we've been there. And what's best for the team may not be for the ain't no doubt with that call sheet. Yeah, I'm telling you. You'll be surprised. I tell the kids all the time, Mr. Charles, grown people was kids one day. And there's a lot of grown people that still perform in that manner. They on social media with that call sheet, want to be seen on that iPad. And so, being a leader, you just got to identify that and put them in the best position to be successful.
Well, speaking of defense, Coach, talk about who stood out for you on the defensive side. Henderson with a good game, Stamarian Edwards solid. Just talk about the usuals and talk about guys that kind of stood out for you.
Man, you look at Steve, he don't play but a quarter and almost lead the team in tackles. It's almost unheard of. But, also, like I told you, with the special team aspect, he's starting on punt now. So you don't see that ball go as far as it did, those first two games when he wasn't out there. So we made the necessary adjustments with some of the guys, just making changes on that punt team. And so he made a couple tackles on punt, and then he made the plays on defense. Hate that he got the targeting, but it just says a lot about the depth and how Coach Rowe got those guys coached up. Kayvon Henderson had a really good game. Spotsville, Eric Thomas played the most he ever played in college, which was about 38 snaps. So there's some depth there, and those guys did a really good job just as far as the old heads. And you see Bakar McCall, plucked the ball out the sky, a big-time interception. Did a really good job. He's going to be a really, really good player for us. Jeff, he did a really good job getting some plays and getting that ball on the ground. And then, T, we got a really good young sophomore that's going to play a whole bunch at the corner from North Little Rock, and he did a really good job. And so I was excited about him. He played a lot of snaps, a lot of good snaps and meaningful snaps. So we like where we at, and we just got to continue to grow and get better.
Talk about the targeting call, Coach. What did you see in that?
Yeah, he did. He just, Steve just got to let up. He got to let up. But he's so fast and he's so twitchy and aggressive. That guy's down. He got to get his head out of it. He got to get his head out. It scared me because I actually saw his face mask hit the young man face mask. He just got to get his neck out of it. When that guy on the ground giving himself up, I'm like, hey, Steve, you got to let up on that one. You know what I'm saying? And he understood it when it happened because it kind of shocked him once he got up. And so that's just a coaching point. We make a highlight of it, show the guys in the meeting room to just hey, look, we got to let him go. We had the big one against UAB on the big third down where Wallow runs into the quarterback, out of bounds. So all those are coaching points for us, and we got to get these penalties down. But we hate the fact that he get to miss, all that time. That could be the difference in him being all conference or all American just with them stats, missing that time. And so he understood it, and so we expect him to do it the right way going forward.
What's his status coming up for this week?
Yeah, he good. We just talked to officials. Matter of fact, before I got over here, so he'll start and he'll be ready to roll.
So when that happened, just because of the time when it happened, he just missed the rest of the game and he's good to go for McNeese.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what's the rule for that though? Let's say if it happened in the third quarter. Just give an example. Because you're going to see this probably every week at some point as you watch games. It's a 4-quarter miss, right? From the moment it happened, you miss 4 quarters, or how does that go?
So he would have to sit out the first half. If he did it in the did it in the third, he'd have to sit out that first half of the following game.
Okay. And with the rules also, is he allowed to stay on the sideline?
Yes, he can still participate, on the sideline. He don't have to go in the locker room anymore, and so long as he ain't being a distraction and just coaching the guys up, then, we'll allow him to be there.
You talked about penalties, and the penalties really were tough. What did you tell your team? And just looking at the film, what did you see in those penalties?
The holding was, 2 of those, Steve and Damien. It was kind of touchy calls, because they, I look at those guys. My thing to the refs is just be fair. You ain't gonna really hear me cutting up about refs until you just get one-handed and one-sided. And so those 2 was just kind of bang plays. But the one that Gideon Spotville had and Jaden Bose, that's uncharacteristic. We get the field goal block and Spotsville turn around and he speared the kicker, and it's blatant, and that ain't what we coaching. So we got some positive and reinforcement that we did yesterday. And the same thing for JB. He inside too thick on the tackle. The running back jump cuts. Instead of he wrapping him up, he grabbed his face mask, and that's 15, extra yards. So we got 45 yards of just egregious penalties, and that ain't what we coaching. We know we got a disciplined ball club, but like I tell them, you got to show that. You can't just say it. And those was 3 incidents where we didn't show it. So once we do the positive reinforcement, we bring them up, we make cut-ups of it, we let everybody see it, and we coach off of it. But this can't rear its ugly head, because this could hurt us, and they understand it. The same thing with Spotville. That ball go to the 1 yard line, and now we trying to, get that ball out. And so, he's not that kind of kid, but also he just said, Coach, I was just trying to block. I'm like, I know it, but you can't block, in the back. You got to, shield them off because they're going to protect the kicker. They're going to protect the quarterback. And that's what the ref said. So I definitely get that cleaned up. That ain't what we coaching. That ain't who we are. And they got to understand the magnitude of those acts. It really hurts us.
And when you have when you face a dynamic offense, you have back-to-back face mask penalties, you jump off sides twice early in the game. When you have an offense like McNeese, for example, that seems to find their rhythm. They scored 14 unanswered to pull away against Stephen F last week in the last 7.5 minutes. That team can score the football, so you don't want to give teams better field position.
You're exactly right, or more chances to be able to do it. In UAB, we should be off the field. It's third down. We got to play more football. They end up scoring on that drive. Here they driving the football a better team in field goal range. They at least get something out of that. And so, like I said, we showed it to them, but also had the positive reinforcement to remind them and then just let everybody know that ain't what we coaching, and we shouldn't be performing in that manner.
How would you assess special teams, Kiani with a field goal? How would you assess Gorman's punting and punt and kickoff returns and punt and kickoff return coverage?
Yeah, I thought we was better. We light years better on the punt. We subbed some guys out. We started Dylan Crowell, like I told you. We started Steve, and now we worked on Eli, just directional kicking the football. To the numbers, still keeping it in play, but just cornering, not just kicking it out of bounds. And so you see the guys cover. They do a really good job. We had one long return where we had an old head, that just didn't do his job, just kind of loafing, and the ball gets around the edge. But other than that, we shored that up. Guys blocked well, did a really good job in the protection aspect, so we know going forward, we work on it. We know it, and we'll get better at it, and that's not going to be Achilles' heels for it. We're going to win games because of special team. I thought punt return did a really good job. We got a couple first downs. Amari Young will now be the returner now. You see, catch the ball fully, hitting yardage. We got those yards. I think he might have had maybe, 30 to 35 yards in returns, which was really good. Kickoff return, we held a possession, did a good job there. And so, in kickoff, you see we get the extra possession with the sky kick and the pooch kick. So we're going to be aggressive in the kicking game. But like I told the guys, we met this morning, we just kind of combing the roster down. All those guys who played on those special teams in the player development aspect, if it wasn't a lot of production, then we can't continue to run those guys out there. I did my part by allowing them to go out and show what they can do. But once this conference thing come, we either going to shrink this roster down with the guys that we trust that can go out and do it, or we're going to increase the roster with guys that took the opportunity, like Dylan Crowell, who did a really good job, out there in the kicking game.
So you're at that point in the year. I mean, UAB, Vanderbilt, Edward Waters, you got McNeese, and after that it's SWAC the rest of the way.
Boy, this thing going by fast, Charles.
It is.
Going by fast.
But when you're talking about the roster, I mean, I remember the first day in camp, over 100 guys out there. Just you had an army out there. But now you're talking about maybe contracting this thing and really tightening it up.
Yeah, or improving it based on some of the guys' skill set. We had a couple guys that started for 3 games now from a kicking game standpoint, and there's no production. Mr. Charles, I can't keep running them out there, if they're not producing. And so I did my part by letting them have that opportunity. I know how important special team is, but when I got started saying, Coach, I'll go do it, then, hey, I owe him that opportunity to go help the team by doing it. And so that's why Steve, now starting linebacker, starting at the right guard. Dylan Crowell played it last year. He's on it. So we constantly just refining, those kicking game aspects with the best players that we got. And we got a couple guys that first time playing does a really good job out there, and they staying. And so we love to get the roster to as many guys that we can, but we know going down the stretch, if they hadn't showed us enough in live action, then we won't be able to use them as much.
Speaking of live action, one of the things about the game, I mean, Edward Waters they slowed the game down. I mean, they brought the game to a crawl, the substitutions, and they had chances. Like I said, they had a 4th and 1. They passed up a field goal, and then they were at the 3-yard line and turned it over deep, and then we turned it over, and the quarterback sneak up the middle. Talk about that little sequence there. Even though we kind of had the game in control, you want to have clean operations on defense. They had a chance to score, and then we turned it over deep in our territory.
We subbed some guys out. We were still in it. Like I said, that last game, we had some player development. People in there that we wanted to see do some things up front, and we kind of let a couple runs, get outside of us. And so, but they bowed their neck down on the red zone, down on the goal line, and made a big time play. Sam Edison, he'll see a lot more action now at that linebacker spot, and he made a big time play, forced the fumble. We get on the fumble. Eric Thomas does a really good job of getting to the ball, and so that was good. Anytime you can get stops, no matter who you're playing, is a really good testament of just the intestinal fortitude of those guys. But we know going forward versus equal or better talent, we might not have that success, so we got to stop them before they get down there.
Was there any surprises when you looked at Edward Waters on film and then you saw him live and in person on Saturday? Anything that surprised you in terms of personnel, size, anything?
Yeah, they was a little smaller than what I thought, on tape. Some of the linemen looked a little thicker, but, number 52, the right tackle, I told Coach, I said, man, if y'all put some meat on him, somebody going to come take him, because that's what's happening now in recruiting. D1 AA's are kind of poaching the D2s. D1 and mid-major, they poaching 1 AA's, And everybody just kind of doing that, and so it was a talent evaluation also for us, because we get a chance to see hungry Division II kids that can go out and can play with us. Then if we saying, hey, look, when this thing over and the transfer portal hit, that may be an opportunity to be able to see kids and get a true evaluation. But number one is dynamic. You see him on the punt return, circle the punt team and get some yards, and so they had some players, and then they well coached. I thought Coach Jenkins did a really good job with the scholarship numbers and just hearing some of the things that they got to go through down there.
I know fans are excited to get the win, but fans are also a little giddy and anxious about offensively. I think the assumption is that we should have scored a lot more points. What would you tell fans that are kind of still a little giddy, even though we got the win, but like to see more?
Tell the defense they need to get more stops. I think if the defense would have did, when you look at the time possession, if the defense would have gave them the ball a lot more, I think they would have scored. When you look at that second half, and look at the possessions they had and how many times they scored, relay that to the first half, and then kind of see what was the outcome. And so we were very disappointed with the defense and how they played. Yeah, they got some stops, but them guys held the ball way too long. We didn't get off the field. We had some uncharacteristic penalties. I thought, the offense played their tail off, for the opportunities that they had. And so I was going in, not excited about this one just from a defensive standpoint. That ain't how we play. That ain't what we coach. You got a defense that's been struggling the first 2 weeks, and they finally get it rolling, but yet you can't get them the ball. And so just being undisciplined was the biggest thing that we got to fix. And I know Coach Roy and that staff will do it in the morning. I
was talking with somebody the other day about that onside kick, that pooch kick. Was that kick catch interference? Was there anything funny about that at all?
Nah, that was legit, Charles. That thing go longer than 10 yards. It's a free ball, and so we didn't want to roll it on the ground and risk Noah getting banged up. So we saw a hole over to the right hand side, and he put enough air on it that we could run on and get it. And so we're gonna be aggressive in the kicking game. Coach Rowe does a really good job with that kickoff team. And then if he had told me it was there, and when I saw fit, hey, let's go for it, let's do it.
Well, let's do this. We're going to take a time out here. We got some bunch of questions, and we'll get to that. And we'll look ahead to a very good McNeese team. An old former colleague here, Tony Pecoraro, is the defensive coordinator at McNeese. He was the DC here for many years, and his defense has only given up 7 points in the fourth quarter in the first 4 games. So we're going to be looking at a stingy defense coming up, and a quarterback that's accounted for 8 touchdowns, 4 passing, 4 on the ground. So a lot to talk about. We'll get to all of that. We'll get to your questions after this timeout here on the Cedric Thomas Show.
Founded in 1920, the Southwestern Athletic Conference has produced some of the most iconic names in sports. Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Alcorn State, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, Grambling State, Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State, Prairie View A&M, Southern, Texas Southern, and the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff have united to embark on a new era of greatness. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, building champions for life.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
601-301-2611 on X Tall Man Radio. We got some questions, so we'll get to that. Coach got a text from a text coming in here. Coach, was Edward Waters better than we thought, or we're not as good maybe as we think we are? Sputtering against a smaller school seems like we're in for a long season. Kind of a question and a comment.
Yeah, I don't know what's the litmus of us being as good as we're supposed to be. I think, even when the preseason deal came out, I chuckled because, I was wondering what they based that assessment on. But when you look at overall offensively, the way we lost last year, it was a lot of production, Mr. Charles. You're talking about a lot of production. And we got some young guys over there playing for the first time. And so I think they right on schedule as far as what they're doing as far as a production standpoint and an improvement standpoint. Just from offensively and defensively, we had one of our worst games out of those 2 games, and so we got some things definitely we got to clean up and get better. So I don't know what's the litmus for how good we really are when you think about you got 3 true freshmen that's out there starting, or 2 redshirt freshmen that's starting for the first time, with some new pieces and a new quarterback. So we'll keep working and keep getting better. And so Melville Waters is a really good football team for that level. And so I didn't put a point assessment on it to see how good we are. We'll see as we going forward and continue to practice and get better.
601-877-6595. You can give us a call, and we do have a call on the line. Kermit calling in from Dallas is on the line. Good evening, Kermit. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good, Charles. How are you?
Doing well.
Hey, Coach, hope you're having a good one.
Oh, I'm blessed.
Coach, I want to ask you a question, and I know that as a fan, I see things different than you on the field, and I know you see things a heck of a lot better than me. But in order to bring my vision into the same vision that you see on the field, as I'm watching Coach this weekend in our passing game, I saw a quarterback who could not throw a deep out. I saw a quarterback who receivers are running open down the field, and the quarterback is holding the ball. And I saw a quarterback that threw the ball or underthrew receivers on more than one occasion, especially that good catch that number 12, I don't remember what his number was, but he made the good catch down around the goal line. That ball was vastly underthrown.
Ty Warren.
So to bring my vision into yours, Coach, so that we're kind of seeing the same thing, am I missing something here?
As it relates to what? What do you, in terms of what do you mean by what are you missing?
I'm saying that the quarterback doesn't have the arm strength to get the ball downfield.
Well, the 2 going toward the scoreboard was actually against the wind, and so I thought he threw it, based on what the wind progression for him was, and yep, it was underthrown, but it was some throws that we've seen in practice a whole bunch that does get out there, and so he'll continue to work on it, and those elements change, based on wind conditions and different elements. And so for the most part, I know he got the arm strength to make some of those throws. He just got to throw it enough and continue to do it. And so that's what we'll continue to do starting in the morning and be able to get better at those components. And the ones that he did throw, was really good throws, and he put it on him. So he has that capability to do it. He just got to continue to do it.
All right then, Coach. So I'm gonna try to get my vision with yours, but it's not there right now.
Hey, but you're welcome to meet us.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, but you're welcome to meet us at 6:30 to watch practice and see it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Kermit. Thank you very much. I didn't pay attention to the wind, Coach. The wind was a factor.
Yeah, you see them kicks that Keanu kicked going that way on kickoff. You see how that ball held up. So it was a nice little piece of wind going that way. And Keanu, he was disgusted because he couldn't really get that ball in that deep left like we wanted to.
All right, as we go back to the text line, 601-301-2611. Coach, the O-line blocked pretty fairly. However, did we get to the backers after the point of attack?
Yeah, they really did. And I know we, playing who we played, but those guys didn't give up a sack and had a lot of yards, from a rushing standpoint that on the yards per carry. And those guys did a really good job. Ronald Brown and Steve Carter, they doubled, some of the shades and got up to the Mike linebacker. And Sewell, he slipped on one inside zone that could have been a really good play. But those guys that was the bright spot out of the whole unit. To me, that was the only unit that really just got out and dominated the game, regardless of who they played. So it starts up front, and we'll continue to get those guys rolling. And Coach Watson is doing an amazing job. And so we know we got another one this week. It'll be a bigger and better challenge. And so I expect them guys to step up, and continue to work.
Also, will we see Truck Griffin at running back now that Miller is out?
Yeah, we most definitely. You'll see Truck everywhere. We're constantly trying to find ways to get him the football. You see how dynamic he is with the ball in his hand. And so it's our job as coaches to be able to put him in the best position to be successful and help him give us opportunity to win.
There was a question from last week, a carryover about this game coming up. Is this game in Dallas or Lake Charles? This game is in Lake Charles, coming up Saturday at 7 o'clock. Another question, the list of top players from this past Saturday are players who were the most impactful from this past Saturday.
I thought, T, man, I'm so excited just about T. He was a captain, made a big-time catch over on the sideline. Mom, was in an accident on the way to the game, so he had a heavy heart. But he, caught the ball well. He blocked on the perimeter, so I'm just so excited about his growth in his senior year. You talked about Amarion Blakes. He went into the punt return role for us and made some really good catches, got some yards in the punt return game. And we know what Taiwan can do. He just got to be consistent catching the football. And so, those guys was played a really, really good game. And so we expect them to continue to grow and get better. One of those guys is a sophomore, and the other one is a freshman. And I think the more they get out and play, they'll continue to get better and work just from the offensive standpoint. And we started a true freshman at the left guard, Cam Rogers. He did an amazing job for a true freshman. And so it's a lot of growth and player development that's being used inside the building to just try to take up for all those guys that we lost, just from a team standpoint.
Back to the phone lines we go, 601-877-6595. We have Virgil from Atlanta is on the line. Good evening, Virgil. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening, Charles, and good evening to you, Coach. How you doing? Virgil out of Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm blessed.
Speaking with you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Coach, I guess what the apprehension is that I guess what some of the fans and everything are saying, or what they're trying to understand, I guess, is I guess our offense has been a little lackluster the past couple of years. And I guess from a fan's perspective, alumni, whatever, we want to see, I guess, more points on the board, and that's one of my questions. And the other question is, on our special teams, I noticed, all from last year and years prior, we don't kick the ball deep enough, and we're giving the opponents, maybe 15 and 20 yards sometimes. Is there a reason why we do that? I'm just kind of want to know your take on everything.
Yes, sir. From a kicking game standpoint, Keanu, he's been the kicker for the last 3 or 4 years, and I think he's gotten his leg, as strong, as a senior as it going to get. From a punter standpoint, we've had a different punter for the last 4 years, and so not having that consistency at that position to go through the screening conditioning program and to develop a strong leg has a lot to do with it also, just different kickers being in and out and not just getting any continuity at that position. And so I think that's a major play inside of the kicking game, just far as weight room and being on this level, and then when you go and look at everybody else's numbers, our numbers just, right around that threshold for everybody else in the conference. And so I think it's just right about average, of what we got. And Keanu now, is about as strong as leg as anybody in the league. And so I put him against anybody in this conference, and he's done a really good job for us. And Eli, this is his first time. He's a true freshman that's here kicking for us on a punting standpoint. And so, those guys, I know Eli continue to grow and get better just from a kicking game standpoint. But, I think they kicking about as hard and far as they can do it, just to assess that.
Okay, that's understandable, Coach. But as far as the offensive scheme is concerned, are we improving on that end of it? Are we getting better?
Yes, we actually are. And you look at just how efficient we're trying to be going into this week compared to the last 2 weeks, and not just the opponents. I don't really care about who we playing. I'm just looking at the product. The ball getting out fast, the guys running the precise routes, and we know that group. It always take that group a little longer. And you're talking about all the guys and all the production that we lost last year. I don't think anybody had a problem besides the Texas Southern game and maybe Prairie View are not scoring enough. I thought those guys gave us an opportunity to score points at a high rate, and I think we can't negate the fact that there's some really good defensive coaches in this league. When you look at everybody averaging points inside the league, and so we want to score as much and as many as we can also, and so we'll continue to do that. But also we know when you got a redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore, two freshmen, that's out there playing, it's going to take some time, and we're going to put them guys in the best position to be successful. And you lose a NFL back, and you actually lose 3 running backs when you talk about Nico Duffy, Javion, and 25 Leatherwood. You know, that's a lot of production that you lose, and you know, those guys doing a really good job. Sewell doing a really good job. You know, carrying it for us, and so we'll continue to get better, and we'll continue to work. But you know, in house, we're trying to score as many points as we can.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate everything, and you know, we gotta. I know it's one game at a time, but I really want us to smoke out Texas Southern. Just keep that in mind. Do that for me, Coach.
I want to smoke out every last one of them. I appreciate it.
Virgil, thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate it, Virgil, calling in. There's a question on the offensive side about running the production in terms of the running game. Are you happy with the production of that, and what can we do to improve that?
Yeah, you know, I like it. I think we're doing a really good job, you know, yards per carry. Besides the Vanderbilt game, we ran the ball these first game 1 and game 3 really good. You know, I kind of stopped the running game. You know, Saturday, I want to see the ball in the air. You know, I was kind of like the fans. You know, I want to see some points. And I seen once they started to crowd that box, we got to push the ball down the field. And so I knew we could have ran it for a whole lot more yards, you know, with that O-line doing what they did. But, you know, I kind of wanted to get that ball, you know, up in the air and get them wide outs. And the quarterback some time against live action to be able to show what they can do, you know, just from a passing game perspective.
I think we're going to need all of that, Coach, coming up for this game this week against McNeese. So let's dive into it, shall we?
Yes, sir.
The McNeese Cowboys. And by the way, McNeese and Alcorn have agreed to re-up the deal. It's a 2-year deal. So we'll be playing them after this year 2 more years, home and away. So I think that's a pretty good matchup. Lake Charles, you know, we played the Southeasterns of the world. We played, in the past, we played the Sanfords of the world. Alabama State gave Sanford all they could handle. The McNeeses of the world, the Stephen F. Austins of the world. I mean, these are FCS opponents, and there are groups called the FCS Nation that just thinks that SWAC teams can't beat these teams. Southern had them on the ropes a couple of weeks ago. Special teams, we talked about special teams, that kind of hurt them in that game. So playing an FCS team, a Southland opponent, it's a good matchup. And this team right here, you talk about McNeese, they're 2-2. They beat Southern University, and they came from behind to beat Stephen F. Austin down 24-14 with 7:37 left in the fourth quarter and rally for a 28-24 win. Their losses were to Tarleton. They were down in that game and made it a game. And then, of course, they lost to Texas A&M. So we're going to be looking at a quarterback coach in Clifton McDowell. He's accounted for 8 touchdowns, 4 rushing, 4 passing. At 167 yards, 4 touchdowns, 568 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. So let's start with that offense and talk about Clifton McDowell, the quarterback we'll be seeing on Saturday.
You know, dynamic with his legs, dynamic, you know, with his arm. You know, he took Montana State, I think, to the finals last year. You know, and transferred to Temple. So he's been around a lot of good football, but he's dynamic in every aspect of it. Can make every throw. Want to get some quarterback run game stuff to get him downhill. Big physical specimens. We got to wrap up. Got to know where he at. Got to have some guys to spy him. To make sure that, you know, he just don't take off running, you know, with the quarterback draw. But also, you know, if you get too many guys in the box, he can throw it over your head. But he's definitely the head of the snake, you know, in that instance, you know, just far from an offensive standpoint. And so we got our hands full with a really, really good quarterback that we got to be prepared to play and tackle. And we can't have, you know, 10 missed tackles like we did on Saturday.
You said you stopped counting. You said at one point 30 missed tackles.
Well, it was 10 when I stopped, you know, on Sunday when I was grading it.
Wow, so it was a bunch of missed tackles for sure. Got to wrap up. Got to wrap up the quarterback McDowell. Got to wrap up D'Angelo Durham. Seems like he's been there forever. Senior from Augusta, Georgia. He's got a couple of touchdowns, 31 carries for 138 yards. You do the math, almost 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, tough running back, big, he physical. You know, they've done a really good job recruiting and maintaining some retention with some of those guys. He's been there for a while. I know for the 2 times we played him, he's been there, run behind his pass. He can jump cut and get it to the edge. And so, you know, he kind of he makes that thing go, because once you start, you know, handing it off, then they throw the RPOs behind him. And so we got to do a good job, you know, being physical and also changing up some looks so he can't just hit that football downhill on us.
You got Carter and McAllister as well as Marks as your receivers, something we got to cover.
Yeah, you know, they vertically, you see them against Tarleton. I think he had like an 80-yard touchdown. You know, the other kid, you know, he has a 60-yard, you know, catch in that same game, and those guys can pick him up, put him down with the best of them. They run, they athletic, they do a good job of getting it to him on the screen game, and also in spacing, you know, just kind of curls and flat stuff. So, you know, the secondary got to be really disciplined. You know, they got to do a really good job of knowing where their guys at. We got to do a good job of spreading the flower out from a coverage standpoint, and then we got to tackle the ball in space. You know, guys gonna have to make one-on-one plays to get that ball to the turf, and 5-yard throws got to be 5-yard throws and not 50 yards.
This defense, led by former Alcorn defensive coordinator Tony Pecoraro, who's the defensive coordinator at McNeese. We talked about it at the top. In the first 4 games this season, they've only allowed 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter in all of these games. So they're pretty tough. They're pretty stout. What is it about Coach Pecorora's defense?
You know, they take the personality out to him. You know, tough, hard-nosed. He's going to be sound. Going to change some looks up. He's going to be physical. You know, we know a whole lot about him. You know, he's like my football brother. Him and his family, and my family is well-versed. And I know Coach had those guys rolling. When you look at the tape, you know, you kind of sit back and just, you kind of smile, you know, because you know you come from that same pedigree, and he does a really, really good job. So we got to be explosive. We got to change some looks up, and we got to take some shots, but we got to make them guys earn every blade of grass, you know, as far as them covering, you know, spacing. But also we got to be able to just play four-quarter football, because them guys going to stay in it. Even the Texas A&M game, them guys was fighting all the way to tooth and nail, you know, to the puzzle, went 0-0-0.
You know, McNeese had never lost to a SWAC school until a couple of years ago. We went down there and got them.
Yeah, I didn't know that until it happened.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, when I was here as a GA, we played them when Coach Thomas, and boy, they had a whip back then. They was rolling.
Yeah, and so they were like 15-0 against SWAC opponents, and then we had a great second half in that last meeting, and we beat them. So I'm sure they're going to be talking about that. Final question, Coach. Offense, defense, special teams. We got a good home win. Now we got 2 in a row on the road. We go to Valley, 6 o'clock game. Next week, a week after, what's the keys to victory? Offense, defense, special teams, winning on the road, winning out of conference, and trying to beat McNeese.
You know, we got to continue to improve offensively. You know, we still got to go fast. We got to give us some vertical threats and be able to loosen that defense up. You know, we got to still be able to run the football and be sound. Got to continue to protect the football, you know, not turn the football over. Got to end every possession with a kick. Defensively, we got to tackle. We got to tackle. You know, this won't be Division II guys running the ball that you can just put your arm on and they fumble the ball to you. We got to really put our face on it. We got to really bite down on that mouthpiece and get that ball to the turf. We got to make sure that we, you know, got safeties over the top where these guys can't run past us. Special teams, we got to, you know, make sure we turn the field over. We got to get an extra possession here or there, and then we also got to turn the field over in the return game.
Well, the Braves are looking for their second win in a row, and they'll try to get it a 7 o'clock kickoff against McNeese. We'll have it all on the Braves Sports Network beginning at 6:30, and the game will be on ESPN Plus as well. All right, Coach, we appreciate it. Let's go get them.
Yes, sir.
That'll do it for the Ed Thomas Show. For our producer, Jamario Brooks, Cedric Tillman, I'm Charles Edmond. We'll see you in Lake Charles on Saturday night. So long.